This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back.
Why is the FBI here for an MPD arrest?
Locals like Ellie have been documenting incidents. Despite opposition to the federal intervention, DC's mayor says the crackdown is working.
This has been pretty pro-surge press conference briefing.
This is pretty pro. We have seen reductions in crime.
Others do not share the same sentiment. Reverend George Gilbert Jr. says people within his community feel they're being profiled and targeted.
There are checkpoints across the city where cars are being stopped for no reason. We are literally a city under siege. And it is not based on crime, it's based on color.
Okay, so while everyone's been focused on Trump's own legal troubles, federal authorities have been conducting raids and seizing classified documents from people in Trump's orbit. And one of the biggest targets? John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor who later became one of his harshest critics. In August 2025, the FBI raided Bolton's office and seized documents marked secret, confidential, and classified. This is part of a broader national security investigation into mishandling of classified information by Trump administration officials. And it's not just Bolton. Multiple Trump associates are facing federal scrutiny for how they handled sensitive government materials. So if you want to understand what federal investigators are finding, why Trump's inner circle is facing these raids, and what it means for the broader accountability picture, you're in the right place. And hey, if you're following Trump's legal troubles and the investigations into his administration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep covering these complex legal stories as they develop. All right, let's break this down. Okay, so let's start with the John Bolton situation because it's pretty significant. In August 2025, FBI agents conducted a raid on Bolton's office in Washington, D.C. and seized classified documents. We're talking about materials marked secret, confidential, and classified, multiple levels of classification. Bolton served as Trump's national security advisor from April 2018 to September 2019. That means he had access to some of the most sensitive information in government: intelligence briefings, military plans, diplomatic communications, all sorts of classified material that national security advisors deal with. After leaving Trump administration, Bolton became a vocal critic. He wrote a book about his time in the White House that was highly critical of Trump. He gave interviews slamming Trump's foreign policy decisions. He basically became Trump's enemy after being one of his top advisors. And now the FBI is raiding his office for classified documents. The irony is pretty thick here. Because Trump himself is under investigation for mishandling classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. And now one of Trump's former officials who criticized him is also being investigated for the same thing. The raid is part of a national security investigation. That means federal authorities believe there might be a threat to national security from Bolton having these documents. Either because he's keeping them improperly or because he might have shared information from them in his book or interviews, or because they think he's not securing them adequately. Federal prosecutors are reportedly considering seeking a grand jury indictment against Bolton. So this isn't just a document retrieval operation. This is a potential criminal case. Bolton could face charges related to mishandling classified information, unauthorized retention of national defense information, maybe even espionage charges if they think he shared anything improperly. Bolton has pleaded not guilty to charges in the Justice Department case, accusing him of sharing government secrets. So we're already at the stage where formal charges have been filed and Bolton is defending himself in court. All right, so Bolton isn't the only Trump associate facing federal scrutiny over documents and classified information. There's a broader pattern of investigations into how Trump administration officials handled sensitive materials. Special counsel Jack Smith's investigation into Trump's handling of classified documents remains active. Although DOJ policy currently protects sitting presidents from prosecution, the investigation documented extensive mishandling of classified materials at Mar-a-Lago after Trump left office. That investigation found that Trump had hundreds of classified documents in unsecured locations, in bathrooms, in ballrooms, in storage rooms. That he showed classified documents to people without security clearances. that he potentially obstructed efforts to retrieve those documents. But it's not just Trump. Federal prosecutors have been investigating possible misconduct by members of Trump's cabinet and aides related to misuse of classified and presidential records. Some are facing indictments or legal challenges. This suggests a pattern where Trump administration officials didn't take document handling seriously. Whether because Trump himself set that tone, or because there was inadequate training, or because they thought rules didn't apply to them, something went wrong with how classified information was managed. The investigations reflect ongoing tension between the Justice Department's pursuit of accountability and the Trump administration's political defenses. Because Trump and his allies frame these investigations as political persecution. They say it's the deep state going after Trump's people, but prosecutors would argue they're just enforcing laws about classified information that apply to everyone. If you take classified documents when you leave government and don't return them when asked, that's a crime regardless of your political affiliation or who you worked for. The scrutiny ties into broader themes of government transparency, executive privilege, and democratic norms. Because there are legitimate questions about what happens to classified information when administrations change and officials leave government. Okay, so let's talk about what these ongoing investigations and document seizures mean for accountability, for Trump's political network, and for how classified information is handled. The intensified enforcement actions continue to fuel a high-stakes legal and political showdown. Trump and his allies are under investigation for document handling. This affects Trump's political prospects as he tries to maintain power while facing potential legal consequences. For the 2026 election dynamics, this matters because it keeps Trump and his administration's conduct in the news. Every raid, every indictment, every court proceeding is a reminder of the legal troubles surrounding Trump's circle. That shapes voter perceptions and influences electoral politics. The legal intrigue, political drama, and national security components make these stories compelling. People are fascinated by the idea that top officials who had access to America's secrets might have mishandled that access. It raises questions about trust, about competence, about whether rules apply equally. Washington, D.C. has seen heightened federal law enforcement presence related to these investigations. While there's no confirmed mass seizure directly linking current cabinet members to crimes, the pattern of investigations and raids creates an atmosphere of legal pressure around Trump's network. The implications for government transparency and accountability are significant. If high-level officials can take classified documents without consequences, that undermines the entire classification system. But if enforcement is seen as politically motivated, that also undermines trust in the justice system. Executive privilege arguments complicate everything. Trump and his lawyers argue that communications and documents from his presidency are protected, that he has broad authority to declassify, that investigations into his conduct are inappropriate. But prosecutors argue that laws about classified information apply even to presidents and their advisors, that you can't just take whatever documents you want when you leave government. That executive privilege has limits. Democratic norms are under strain because these investigations are happening while Trump is back in power. Can a president face accountability for actions taken before or during a previous term? How do you investigate someone who controls the executive branch? The Bolton case is particularly interesting because he's both a critic of Trump and potentially a criminal defendant for conduct related to his time working for Trump. So he's in this weird position where he might face prosecution for mishandling information he accessed while serving Trump, even though he later criticized Trump. The continuing legal and political showdown shapes public discourse about what standards apply to government officials, about whether laws are enforced equally or whether powerful people get away with things regular citizens would be prosecuted for. For Trump's allies who are facing investigation, this creates pressure to cooperate with investigators or face prosecution. That could lead to more information coming out about how Trump's administration operated and what decisions were made. The 2026 elections will be influenced by how these investigations proceed. If major Trump allies are indicted or convicted, that damages Trump's political brand. But if investigations stall or don't produce results, Trump can claim vindication and say it was all a witch hunt. Here's the bottom line. federal authorities conducted a raid on John Bolton's office and seized classified documents as part of a national security investigation. Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor turned critic, is facing potential criminal charges for mishandling classified information. But Bolton isn't alone. Multiple Trump associates are facing federal scrutiny over how they handled sensitive government materials. There's a pattern of investigations into document handling by Trump administration officials that goes beyond just Trump's Mar-a-Lago case. These investigations reflect ongoing tension between prosecuting document mishandling and avoiding the appearance of political persecution. Trump and his allies say it's all politically motivated. Prosecutors say they're just enforcing laws that apply to everyone. The raids and seizures continue to fuel legal and political battles that will shape the 2026 elections and beyond. Because accountability for high-level government officials is fundamentally about whether laws apply equally or whether power provides immunity. So here's my question for you. Should former government officials face prosecution for mishandling classified documents even years after they leave office? Or should there be some kind of statute of limitations or amnesty for document issues? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. We'll keep following these investigations as more details emerge about what federal authorities found and who else might face charges. I'll see you in the next one.